4, Chapter 7, Buttons for Lunch. At our table in the cafeteria, the eating part of lunch period was quickly over. Since the main event was Ellie's idea, she takes charge, which is what I thought would happen. Let's get the table cleared off. Yeah, but maybe keep your trays. That's Hank interrupting Ellie. She shoots a look at him before continuing. And yes, keep a tray if you want to. Once everyone is back and settled, Ellie says, I think Grace should go first. Then we can go on around the table to the left. So, besides the buttons you had yesterday, did you find any others at home? Yes. I'm lost, scattered, totally flustered. Because my plan was to wait until everyone else was done and then dump out the bag after bag of buttons and calmly enjoy everyone's amazement, especially Ellie's. And now I don't know what to do. Plus, my stomach is still hurting. I reach into my backpack and I pull out one bag, a mix of green, blue, red, and yellow buttons, all about the size of a nickel. I I have these. I pour the buttons onto a tray and slide it to my left. And in a flash, I see why Ellie started off this way, so that her buttons will be the last ones revealed. Ellie smiles at my tray. Nice colors, she says. But to me, it sounds like she's only trying to be polite. Cody is on my left, and from the pocket of his hoodie, he pulls out a dark blue sock with a bulge down on the toe. Ew, that's gross. Taylor slides as far away from Cody as she can get. What? It's not stinky if that's what you're worried about. And in case you didn't know it, plastic bags are terrible for the environment. Cody empties his buttons onto a tray and then stuffs his sock back into his pocket. There are 4 or 5 bright orange ones, 3 large red ones, and several dozen in different shades of gray and tan. 15 or 20 black ones, and then a lot of smaller white buttons. To my eye, the most interesting buttons on his tray are the largest black ones. They have an anchor and rope sign cut into the surface. I got 30 or 40 like that. I pointed at one. Pretty sure that's a US Navy button. Cody picks it up. Yeah, that's what my mom said. These were on my dad's old jacket, but he burned a big hole in it on a fishing trip, so she only kept the buttons. And that's it for Cody. Taylor starts pulling a small bag out of her backpack. When my mom was in junior high, she and her big sister got into decorating stuff with buttons, lampshades and coasters and glass jars, all kinds of things. We still have some of the coasters, and my mom kept the buttons they never used. I'm not allowed to get them mixed together. We've got some regular buttons too, but I didn't bring them. There are at least 15 bags on Taylor's tray, and even though the colors are different, the buttons look identical, each a little bigger than the kind used on the front of a shirt. Kevin is next, and his buttons are in a plastic bag or a sock. Oh, sorry. His buttons aren't in a plastic bag or sock. He just pulls a few handfuls from his pockets. These are from the sewing box in our family room. There are more, but I was almost late for the bus this morning, so that's it. These look like Cody's mix, and I don't spot any of those US Navy buttons, though. But I do see 4 that are made of pewter. They all have the same raised design on the surface. A swan. It's Hank's turn. He stands up and spreads out 5 white sheets of poster board, each one a little bigger than a regular piece of printer paper. Every sheet has buttons on it, mounted in rows and columns, and every button is fastened in place with a thin black wire threaded into holes poked through the board. I searched for all the loose buttons at my house yesterday, and then I got them organized, first by color, then by size, then by shape, and also by the number of holes they have, 2 or 4, except for buttons like this, the brass one, or this little round top blue one. This kind just has a single loop on the back. I recorded how many of each separate kind I have. That's the number I wrote underneath some of them. And I mounted the buttons like this because I looked online, and this is sort of how collectors organize them. I'm not really done yet. Everyone is kind of blown away by Hank's presentation, but I'm not surprised. Hank and I teamed up for the fourth grade science fair. When we were working at his house one Saturday, I saw his butterfly and moth collection, over 150 different species, from tiny ones with delicate white wings to a brilliant green Luna moth, bigger than my dad's hand. Each insect was perfectly mounted and labeled. 6 or 7 other kinds have come over to stand, or kids have come over to stand around our table. Some from my homeroom and others from Mr. Scott's and Mrs. Casey's room. A few fifth graders, too. Everyone is leaning in, and they remind me of a quiet audience at one of those golf tournaments on TV. Brooke and Diana didn't bring a lot, about as many as Kevin. The most interesting thing on either of their trays is some cloth covered buttons Brooke found. Finally, it's Ellie's turn. We've got at least 12 extra spectators now, and she smiles at them and says, "Sorry, there's not enough room for you to sit at the table, but I hope you can see everything anyways." First of all, I have some military buttons, which are very special. Ellie pauses, making sure she has our full attention. My great grandfather joined the United States Army in 1918, and then after World War I, he stayed in the Army until he became a captain. And these buttons are off some of his clothes. There are some huge ones from a heavy overcoat. The oldest buttons, these brown metal ones, they were actually on his uniform when he was fighting in France during the war. And these shiny brass ones came from his captain's uniform later on. Now, these 6 buttons, they're from the US Marine uniform that my grandmother's brother wore. I never met him because he died in the Vietnam War when my grandmother was still in high school. I'll pass them around, but please don't take them out of the protective bag. Ellie has used 2 different cafeteria trays now, and she has 5 more stacked in front of her. She's got a whole little show planned out, like something on the History Channel. I don't know whether to be impressed or annoyed or jealous, so all 3 feelings are banging around inside of me. And Ellie keeps going. These 9 buttons, they're for my great aunt Ellen's wedding dress. She's the person I'm named for. See how they shine when you tilt them? They're made from this semi-precious stone called white opal. Aunt Ellen gave them to my mom so that I could wear them someday on my wedding dress. And I didn't even know that until last night. So amazing. The wedding dress buttons are also in plastic, get to parade down the table on a tray of their own. I think these might be my favorites. My dad told me that back in 1898, his great-grandparents bought a farm in southern Illinois. And these 2 buttons came from a pair of overalls that my great-great-grandfather wore almost every day. Ellie passes them to me. They're made of brass, and raised up on the front of each button are 2 words: Stronghold. I want to ask her what else she knows about her great-great-grandparents, but Ellie's not slowing down for anything.